In terms of priorities with Brussels, I think the most important thing is that we make the most of Brexit. That's in the rearview mirror. We're moving on from that. We can talk about the future, and there's so many opportunities. To be honest, we need to be absolutely strong on the fact that we don't want to have to align with European regulations. We want the freedom to go out and do what we want to do around the rest of the world. That's the most important thing, and I think a decision that will be made over the next few months. Blue Collar Conservatives is all about towns and people out there in the country, in the real world, outside the Westminster bubble, and their priorities. And I think there are some key ones that can come from our trade negotiations. If we're able to trade more freely around the world, if we're able to bring in goods and services from other parts of the world, we can potentially reduce prices, we can increase people's choice in terms of what they want to buy and from where, which can only be a good thing. And if we can combat that kind of cost of living element, I think is a huge thing for people in certainly towns like Mansfield, where I represent. We've talked a lot about free ports in places like Teesside, the opportunity to bring in parts of products and build them there in that tax-free kind of environment, boot them all out again as built products and get the economic benefit from that. For my part of the world, it's not just that free ports have to be by the sea either. We've talked about those a lot, but I want to build one around our airport in the East Midlands so that we can do that and add that value through our work, through our productivity here in the UK. To grow our local economy. So for places like Mansfield, to be able to go and work in this environment where you can bring in components from other parts of the world, put things together, add that value and ship them out again, making money for the UK economy and creating jobs here. I think the Red Wall, as it's been called, is a really important part of the country in terms of the shift politically. You know, my part of the world is a coalfield area, and as that's becoming increasingly historic, people have moved on and actually started to look at what are the values that I believe in. I think they've always been small c conservative, but the history and the kind of unionised industries has led them to vote Labour. That's changing, and I think it's changing around the whole country. We've talked a lot about north versus south, but I think actually there's a divide between towns and cities that's really important, and it is those forgotten towns that we really need to focus on. So if we can build those real local economies, boost high streets, bring better paid jobs to those parts of the world, it'll make a huge difference. We have lost a lot of particularly strong industries, coalfield communities, big industrial communities and manufacturing over decades. You're not going to replace all of that. You know, you try and send a 17-year-old down the pit now and see what happens, not going to work. So we do need to start to rebuild those internal economies. I think we've been guilty in the past of saying, let's put lots of money into a city and it will trickle out into other parts of that county and that area. We've built, you know, rail links to get people from surrounding towns into the city. All that does is drag people out of the towns rather than rebuild those economies. So it's got to be internal, it's got to be about local transport, buses, sometimes obsessed with trains, buses, really important, and about attracting jobs, incentivising businesses to move to those areas, because we lead the world in so many smart industries, future-facing industries, but 21st century, they don't need to be based in London, they don't need to be based in cities, and we need to prove that point. Global vision for the country, that's big. I think, you know, historically, Prime Minister's been saying over the last few days, you know, Britain was the centre of the maritime world when it came to trade. It's all about Greenwich and everything stemmed from there. That can be the case again in the future. I think we've got a strong record in terms of you know, science and technology and research in this country, things that we can ship out to the rest of the world, and opportunities for our businesses to deal with the rest of the world as well, so we can grow, you know, and some things will benefit from that, some things will struggle. It'll be a realignment of our economy and where the jobs are created. But actually, it's an opportunity to grow the economy, it's an opportunity to create jobs, to reduce prices that can benefit everybody, you know, London and the rest of the country as well.